Tell me about traveling and what your favorite place was.
Okay. Well, up until retirement, to us, traveling was basically um, going on a cruise somewhere, the Bahamas or whatever, a 3 or 4 day cruise. That's all we could afford financially, and also from a time standpoint, that's all we could afford. But we both loved traveling, and we both did a lot of traveling for our careers. Mom traveled all over the country, and I traveled all over the country. So we had both been to a lot of the cities and states in this country. Um, but then we discovered, um, when I retired, and then, well, she wasn't retired yet, but she could take off whenever she wanted. Um, we discovered that we both really wanted to see the world. That was a big objective of ours. Um, we didn't have the finances at that time, or I didn't think we had the finances at that time. Apparently, we had enough money to retire, but I kept worrying because the financial guys kept saying, "Your money can take you till you're 85 years old, living the way you are right now." And I kept thinking, okay, well, if I keep taking money out of that, we may run out of money by the time I'm 70. And that seemed very close when I retired at 62. So, anyway, we reached an uneasy truce where we did travel, but it was more like, one nice trip a year. We discovered river cruising and loved river cruising. And at the time, river cruising was very inexpensive. I mean, it was slightly more than ocean cruising, but very inexpensive. But then we started to really see places that opened our eyes up, and again, uh, the money was actually growing. It wasn't decreasing, just because the stock market kept rising and stuff like that. And as we started getting older, the gap between how long it would last us closed. And still, I was always very, very careful about watching what we could do. But we started getting up to maybe 2 trips a year. Um, and then we started wanting to go a little bit further for a little bit longer. But I think the real thing that really changed in me, kind of clicked in me, was watching some of our friends, get ill, um, and finally realized they couldn't walk as far on a trip. They couldn't do certain things, and thinking, I don't want to get to that point. And I think both of us didn't want to reach that point. So I started loosening up the purse strings a little bit more, still kind of tight. And we still would have, like, when we decided to go to Australia, we both really wanted to go to Australia. But for us, that was probably 4 times what a normal trip would cost us. We both really wanted to do it. And so we just bit the bullet and did it. But she was pulling me by the hair to spend that kind of money. But once we did that, and I loved it, that was one of my favorite trips. Um, I realized that I could start taking money out of her savings. I was always just using money that we saved all the time. But I started thinking, okay, the balance in our major savings account had not changed in years. So I started taking a certain amount each year out just for travel, and I put money in our budget. We always had a budget each month just for travel. So between the two, we could take a couple really nice trips or one very, very nice trip a year. So we started both river cruising, and then Australia really opened the doors. And then we just, we discovered OAT, which is a great travel company. And, we went to Africa. Now, on the river cruises, we had been to some great countries. But our friends had all told us about OAT.
Go on.
Our friends had all told us about OAT, and so we decided to give that a try. But I do remember having a thing with one of our friends that, they sat here and they were wealthier than us, and they were like, well, we're doing the pre, and we're doing the post, and we're doing this, and we're doing that. And Mom kept wanting to do that too. And finally, we had a big discussion with our friends about, stop telling me what we can and can't afford, or should or shouldn't be able to afford. This is the amount right now that I can feel comfortable with. And we kind of got that through their heads and through our heads, that I was still a little bit cautious about money. My biggest fear, as we saw, as I said, friends getting sick, but also friends dying, was that she would be one of those wives that would be left behind with no money. That if I died, and we had friends that had to move, had to leave, whatever. Didn't want that to happen. But eventually, as I got older, and again, our balance, even though I was taking money out each year, stayed the same pretty much. It wasn't going down. So I knew it could take us further into life. Um, and then we started doing bigger trips, like when we discovered OAT and the Africa trip. And to this day, that is the best trip I think we've ever taken. Um, for a lot of reasons, but mainly it was the first trip that we didn't classify as a vacation. We classified it as an adventure because that's what it was. It was something new every day. You never knew what was going to be around the next corner that Land Rover turned around. You never knew what you were going to see. And everything you saw was absolutely amazing. And that we knew we would probably never be seeing that, again in the rest of our lives. We're wrong though, because we just planned another trip to Africa because we liked it so much. But we also started looking at other trips differently, like the recent trip we took to Japan. OAT does a great job of folding in tourism and education. And you get to do a lot of education things and you get immersed in the culture of the countries. And we both really like that. And the interesting thing is that we've been to, Switzerland and, and Prague and Budapest and all these places. We can travel very well together. We enjoy traveling together. But we also like to travel with other people. And what OAT does very well is it's a maximum of 16 people. That's it. You don't get these big bus loads full of people traveling. So anyhow, seeing the world has become a really big thing for both of us. And we had a bucket list that at the time sort of stopped at Africa, but then we signed up for Machu Picchu and the Galapagos, and then we decided we're going to go to Africa again, and now we're looking into Singapore and Vietnam and Southeast Asia. And I think the only thing, well, there's two things that can stop us, either our health or our money. I don't think the money's going to be an issue unless something happens with this administration that crushes our money. Our health is pretty good, thank God, right now. So our way of looking at it is, as long as our health and our money holds out, we're just going to keep going places, and the bucket list will just keep growing. And we look out now, a few years out, or a couple years out, to the next Africa trip, and I just think, okay, we can hold out for 2 years, healthy and money wise. So the bucket list just keeps growing, and traveling, I guess it kind of comes out of what I get out of reading, where I said it takes you to another place. Well, now we actually get to go to these other places. So we love to travel.